Okay, welcome to the first video in our OBS tutorials we're going to be doing. I've had a few people request some tutorials, so here we go. You open up OBS and you come to settings. Now these first few videos we're just going to do some basic overview of how to stream to Facebook and YouTube. Once you open up your settings, you're going to want to come to output. You go to output and change your output mode from simple to advanced. Now here's your streaming tab. You got streaming, recording, audio, and replay buffer. You're not going to mess with the replay buffer. And then your audio tracks. And I'll explain what each of these are. In streaming, say we want to do, if you're Facebook or YouTube, your encoder. X264 is for your CPU, and NVEC is for NVIDIA cards to use your GPU. If you don't have an NVIDIA card or an AMD card, you're only gonna have X264, which will use your CPU to do the rendering. Now the NVIDIA, the NVEC or AMD, depending on which card you have, will have their own, and that will use the GPU to do the rendering. If you're just using CPU, you come down here. You can have the streaming service do the encoder settings, or whichever one you want to do there. I usually have it on, so Facebook kind of takes care of that in. Rescale output. I actually have my input coming as 1080p, or actually on this computer I have 1440p. But the one we use at our church, we used to have it set up as 1080p coming in. Rescale your output to 720p, 1280 by 720. That's all Facebook wants or will take, unless you're like a game or pro streamer, game streamer, then they'll, if you stream enough, you qualify for 1080p. 720p is going to be perfectly fine. Most people watching on computers or cell phones, so it's not going to be a big deal. Your rate control you want to set to CBR. Your bit rate for Facebook is 4,000. That's the max you can do with Facebook. YouTube is 6,000. You want to come down here to your key intervals. You can leave it 0. That's automatic. But I set mine to 2 because that's what Facebook likes. Your CPU preset, depending on how good of a CPU you got. If you got a 9900K or an i5 4-core, you may want to lower this. And if you're playing a game at the same time, or if you're streaming, just doing like a tutorial like this or something different, you can set it down. You can set it higher if you're not needing your CPU as much. And then down over here in this side, you'll be able, when you record, you'll see how much your CPU is being used. So if it's up 30-40%, that's a little high. Come down, and then this right here too. Also, you can change it to say 2500 if you don't quite have a powerful enough system. You can set that down, and then maybe even 2000, but I wouldn't go any lower than that. Keyframes 2, and then you set your profile to high. So on here, I recommend keeping it around very fast or fast. You can even you play around with it, do some recordings or some streaming, and just do some test streams if you want, or you can do recordings and set it kind of similar to recording, and your recording will kind of be similar to what your stream. The rest of the stuff you can leave alone. Now let's go to NVEC, which is usually what I record with when I'm playing a game. I usually, because you have a little bit extra horsepower on your GPU left over, depending on what you have. I have a 1080 Ti. I record 1440p, and it's pretty decent. But if I'm streaming to YouTube or Facebook, you still keep it at 720, unless you've got a gamer thing, and you can go 1080p on it. And then you keep everything else the same. 4,000 is your max you can do for Facebook. Quality, depending on how good of a graphics card you have. I have a laptop. It has an RTX 2060. For church, I set it to max quality because I'm not doing anything else on it other than recording, person on stage. Profile high. You can leave the rest of the stuff alone. And then we'll come up here to recording. If you want, you can also record and stream at the same time. So if you can stream at a lower quality, 720p, and then if you have a powerful enough system, you can also record. And like I said, this one has the NVIDIA or AMD, and then it has the X264, which would be just CPU. If you do X264, you can, depending on what you're recording, like my stream, I have going out 720. Recording, I usually I have it set at 1080p or higher for recording. So if you got whatever you have incoming, if it's a 1080p signal, you can output higher or rescale it, or like I usually just leave it. If it's 1080p, it'll record it at 1080p. For this, you want to use VBR for recording, and you can set your bit rate, and you can set it all the way up, depending on how good of a quality you want. If it's 1080p, you can do 15,000. If you're wanting 4K, you can set it up to 100,000. Like I said, it just depends on how powerful a system you have. For me, when I record at an NVEC, I usually set it 50 to 65,000. CPU, depending, like I said, this is the same as the streaming. It depends on how powerful of a CPU you have. You can set it to that. You keep your profile to high. You can leave these others alone. And then we'll go through the NVEC. NVEC, I usually set for recording at 1440p. I do 50,000 to 65,000. That might be a little high, but it's not. I don't really notice any difference on the taxing of the CPU. I have my quality preset to max or quality depending on what game I'm playing. I've been playing the Surge, so it's it's a little bit a few years old, but it's fine. Profile high, you can leave these here alone. GPU 0, max reframes 2. Your audio. Now here, what you'll have to change if you're streaming to YouTube or Facebook. I think Facebook is 160. Facebook is 128. Sorry, 128. YouTube is 160. If you're streaming to Facebook, set your track 1 to 128, and then you're streaming, you're going to have audio track 1 selected here. So that way, whatever you have set here for track 1 will be track 1 here. Now, if you're recording and you want a higher quality audio when you're recording, you can go to your track 2, set it to 320. That's max. Go to your recording, unselect this, and have track 2 selected. So track 2 will record at 320, which will be your max audio quality. Once you have those done, you can apply it. You can set those. Now, you'll need to come down here, and this will be your base canvas, or your base canvas and your output scale. If you're running 1080p, you're going to have your base canvas at 1080p, and then your output scale also at 1080p. So you can have 1920 by 1080, and then your output scale the same. That way, here, this is what your recording will come out to. When you have your output already set for your streaming here, it'll rescale that to 720p because that's what Facebook likes. So in your video, you just leave all this here, depending on what your input is. On mine, I had this set to 2560 by 1440 because I'm recording on a 1440p monitor. But like I said, whatever you have your input as from your game or whatever you're recording, you can have here. And then on this spot, you can have it rescale it if you need it a different size. Now, when it rescales, it does use a little bit more resources because it's got to drop it down to either 720 or if you want to upscale it to something higher, it's use a little bit more processing power. But once you get those set, you should be good. Like I said, you can lower your bit rate on here if you need to, if you have a lower quality CPU and you don't have a GPU, a dedicated graphics card. Then you can lower that and just play around with it. Like I said, you can do some test recordings and do CBR and lower your bit rate to 4,000, record it, see what it looks like, see what kind of resources down here at the bottom right. It'll say CPU usage, and then if you're good and it's not dropping nothing, it'll also if it's too much on your CPU, it'll notify you down here. It'll turn red, so you keep an eye out for that. But those are kind of your basic stuff for YouTube and Facebook streaming. You get those set, and you should be good to go. You put your stream key and different things up here. If it's Facebook Live, server default, get your stream key from Facebook, hit apply, and go live. Once you got all that set, you come down here, start stream, and you can also set it to record to both. You can start recording or hit stream after, depending on what you're doing. All right, guys, if you like the video, hit like, subscribe, share with your friends. Leave a comment below if you have anything specific you'd like to see me do a tutorial on, or if you have a question about how to set up anything. I'm going to start doing we'll do some scenes and sources, how to add different things on here. I just wanted to do a quick overview of some decent Facebook and YouTube streaming settings so you get the best quality you can. Like I said, if you got any comments or questions, put them below and I'll get back with you. See ya.